podcast.
Yay!
This is My Thing, Your Thing. My name is Hannah.
And I'm Donovan.
And today it's another one of my things.
Yay!
And we are talking about the second Terry Pratchett book in the City Watch series called Men at Arms. Just as a little bit of background, so the first one, Guards, we already talked about that. If you haven't listened to it, I definitely recommend go back and listen to it.
Yes.
Also, read the book. It's a great book. Don't just listen to us talking about it. We cannot possibly cover all of the amazing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I was just looking through some of these and I'm like, oh, that's a great quote. Oh, that's a great quote. Oh, that's a great quote. Yeah, go back and read it.
Yeah.
But this is a continuation of it's also set in Ankh-Morpork. It's also dealing with the same characters. But also we have new characters that are introduced.
Yeah.
Also really quickly, so Guards was written in 1989, also the year I was born.
Hey.
And then Men at Arms was written in 93, and there are about 6 books in between them.
Uh-huh.
And you can kind of see the craft improving a little bit.
Yeah, I can definitely see that the way that he writes at this point is, I would say, more confident. He's, got it figured out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a quick little, I guess, spoiler-free review. And we can talk about some of the characters that are introduced,
yes.
too. So, it's been about a year since the event of Guards.
Mm-hmm.
And the City Watch is kind of turning into something. And so they have been told, you have to hire more people. And specifically, Veterinary wants the Watch to be, more reflective of, the face of the common man in the city.
Yeah,
and
this is essentially affirmative action.
Yes,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are DEI hires right now. In the form of Detritus and Cuddy and Angua.
Yeah.
So Detritus is a troll. They're all Lance Corporals. Lance Corporal Detritus is a troll. You'll remember him from the last book. He was the splatter outside of the Men at a Drum.
Mm-hmm.
Like a bouncer, but he's a troll, and he throws people and they splat.
Yeah.
But he has decided to make something of himself, and the best way to do that is to join the Watch.
Yep, he's got a girlfriend named Ruby, and he wants to impress her and
and have a solid job.
Yeah, totally.
And then there is also Lance Constable Cuddy, who is a dwarf. Carrot has sort of paved the way for dwarves in the Watch.
Yeah.
He's a human. Biologically, he was raised as a dwarf.
Yeah.
In a mine way up in the mountains. And so, he is working to make the Watch a place where, dwarves can come and have, a good, honorable, solid job.
Yeah.
And then there's Angua, who is a woman. She's a woman.
She's a woman.
She's a woman.
And that's the only thing.
Yeah. Angua von Uberwald.
Which is a great name.
Great name, yeah. And so there are new people in the Watch, and the Watch is expanding a little bit, and now they're actually being asked to do stuff.
Yeah.
To deal with crime in the city, which is not really something that they had done before.
Nope.
Not, specifically not the Night Watch. They'd not really been a force to administer or deliver or arrange justice in any way. They were just kind of around.
Yeah, they were sort of there to more give the impression that somebody was doing it, but not actually do it.
Right, because for the most part, the guilds take care of most of the crime.
Yeah, exactly. The Thieves Guild, it's they steal a certain amount per year, but if you pay them insurance, they won't steal from you.
Yeah.
So, and the Assassins Guild, they only do legally sanctioned contracts, and they even leave a note when they kill someone.
Yep.
Being this was the Assassins Guild, don't investigate it.
Yeah. And there's a whole thing with the Assassins where it would be somewhere between unthinkable and deeply uncouth to kill someone and not get paid for it.
Yeah.
And that's something that comes up across other books too, is that if you're going to kill somebody, you have to be getting paid for it.
Yeah. Just for personal reasons? What a fucking weirdo.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
The Partition Veterinary is turning the Watch into more of something that he can, a tool that he can use to help control and direct the city.
Yeah.
And so, to help facilitate that, they need more people, because it's just been 4 of them so far.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you get the distinct impression, and in fact, it's kind of explicitly stated later on, this isn't really a spoiler, but Veterinary is sort of using reverse psychology a little bit on especially Vimes, but
Absolutely,
like
yes.
the Watch in general, by pretending to sort of not care about them and sort of pretending to sort of like hamstring them. He knows that that's going to make them more effective at their jobs.
Yeah.
Fun character.
Great.
Yeah.
Really good.
Mm-hmm. We should start with the other part of the plot at the beginning, too, is that Vimes is about to get married.
Right.
He's about to get married to Sybil Ramkin.
Lady Sybil Ramkin.
Who is amazing and great. She's not in this book as much as he's in the last one, which kind of sucks, but like in the stuff that she is in, she's very good.
It kind of adds sort of this thing of like... Lady Sybil herself is not there, but like,
Yeah.
you know, Vimes getting married to her is a driving force, and like he's supposed to retire.
That's what that's the big part of the plot, is that when he gets married, which is like at the end of the week, he is going to retire from the Watch.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of like who's going to be his replacement, and you know, Colin's the highest ranking person aside from him, and Colin's like no,
Absolutely not.
absolutely not.
I am a sergeant, thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's not going to be Nobby. He doesn't want it, and no one wants him.
No, you cannot trust Nobby in a position of authority. The logical choice is Carrot.
Yeah.
But he's only been a watchman for about a year.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, there's some interesting question there about what's going to happen with everybody.
Yeah. And I do kind of, I do wish that Lady Sybil was in this more because I like her as a character, but I kind of like her as sort of like emblematic of sort of this idea of what is Vimes's life going to look like
Yes.
after he leaves the Watch, because he's been a watchman his whole life. He's only ever been a copper, and like now he's getting married to he is a poor man from a poor part of town. He grew up, I believe he actually did grow up in the Shades.
Yeah, I think he says that he grew up in the Shades, yeah.
Which is like the poorest and the roughest part of town. Yeah. He went from like that to marrying literally the richest woman in Ankh-Morpork,
Yes.
which puts her probably one of the richer people on the disc.
Yep, and not only that, but like they're getting married and he still thinks of everything as hers, but Lady Ramkin's like, no, you're going to have control of a bunch of my assets. Like, you're going to be in charge of running it. And Vimes is like, I don't... What?
Why would you want that for me? I don't want that for me.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about any of this.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean we have a country estate? What's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Lady Sybil Ramkin kind of being emblematic of his the existential crisis that he's having of what is my life going to look like after I'm not a cop anymore.
Yes.
And it kind of being like this looming thing that's just like in the background. And then she's kind of a little bit like the like a metaphor for that also, because she's not in the book much, but you know, she's still there. She's still a force.
Yeah. And I think that for the plot to kind of work, she kind of can't be in it a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a plot where like if she was around a whole bunch, then Vimes and her would have to have a conversation and they could probably solve things, but that's not the conflict in this story.
Yeah.
So
that is kind of one of the things. So two of my favorite Watchmen books are The Fifth Element and Thud, which is my favorite book that's ever been written ever.
I'm so excited, Hannah. I really am.
And I don't know if Lady Sybil being a big part of both of those is like the reason why I like them so much, but it's certainly one of them.
I get it.
So also one of the big themes of this book is racism, but like fantasy racism.
Yeah. This isn't like that shitty movie Bright where it's just like orcs are black people. Like it has an in-universe racist conflict.
Yeah.
And you can draw parallels to real-life racist conflicts and problems and things like that, but it is not a one-to-one.
Correct, yes.
You know, and I think that is a much more respectful and a better way to do it, because otherwise, like, you're either, at best, you're demeaning real-life racism by turning it into fantasy, and at worst, you're saying, well, you're basically making real-life racism worse because you are literally dehumanizing real humans.
Yeah, that is a conversation that happens a lot in, like, sci-fi and fantasy spaces.
Yeah.
Of, like, oh, you wanted to write a story about racism, but you didn't actually want to put any, like, black or brown people in it, so instead you made them aliens or whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, that really sucks, because not only does it, like, you're kind of delegitimizing the like actual effects of real life racism and the lived experiences of black and brown people, but also you're not putting any black or brown people in your TV show about racism. What's wrong with you? Yeah,
exactly. And I think Terry Pratchett does a great job. He's is able to really unpack and analyze a lot of things about racism in kind of a lighthearted way, but it's not disrespectful. It's not offensive in any way. Like, it does a really good job.
So sort of the big conflict is between trolls and dwarves.
Yes.
Trolls and dwarves historically hate each other. And at this point in the story, like in the history of the disc, they hate each other mostly because, like, so trolls hate dwarves because dwarves hate trolls, and dwarves hate trolls because trolls hate dwarves. Yeah. Like, it's just been going on for so long that, like, they just hate each other because it's been ground in. Initially, some of the animosity started because, you know, dwarves tend to dig through rock looking for shiny things like minerals and gemstones and all that kind of stuff, and trolls are sentient rocks and oftentimes have minerals and gemstones inside of them. So if you're trying to take a nap and someone tries to hack open your mouth to get the diamonds out, you're not going to be very, like, happy to hang out with that guy later. But as Ankh-Morpork becomes a melting pot, there are more trolls and dwarves and other species in the city, and everybody has to figure out a way to live with other ethnic groups, basically. Yeah.
And, I mean, yeah, you do. You got to do that. If you live in a big city with lots of different kinds of people, you got to learn to do that.
Yeah. And Ankh-Morpork does, this is like the beginning of it, but especially as the series goes on, Ankh-Morpork becomes like the most populous city, where also especially a lot of trolls and dwarves come to live. Yeah. And in later books, goblins also start living there a lot.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. In Ankh-Morpork, there are also a bunch of like non-human species that have a foothold in there that like they just kind of also live there, and they're not mentioned as much, but they're there. One of the really good ones, gargoyles. Which is like
they talk about gargoyles in this one. They're basically trolls. They're just trolls that are adapted for living in a city.
They're urban adapted trolls that live on top of rooftops and filter rainwater through their ears and out their mouths so that they can eat pigeons.
What a great idea!
What a great idea! Kind of the inciting incident is that there has been an unsanctioned theft. Something got stolen from the assassins, maybe, but the assassins don't want to say anything about it. There was like a giant explosion at the Assassin's Guild. Well, at the Assassin's Guild and the Fool's Guild, because they are back to back.
Yeah, right next to each other.
Yeah, and everybody is all like in a fluster. But when the cops show up, the assassins don't want to say anything about what's going on. Yeah. They refuse to admit if anything was stolen or anything like that. They're just like, no, some overexcited students set off some fireworks. Mm-hmm. Anyway, be along your way, Copper.
Yep. Yeah. It's like guild business, so the Night Watch has no say in it, essentially.
Over the course of the next few days, people in the city start dying in strange ways that have never been seen before. Yeah. It seems like someone is being able to kill them from very far away, and they're somehow including like fireworks in it. Yeah. It smells like fireworks. There's usually a loud bang, but the person is so far away. By the time that they get there, they could be anywhere.
Yep. And everyone's freaking out about it. Everyone's like, this is really weird.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad times, especially because it's difficult to say who any of the targets are supposed to be. Yeah. Except possibly guild leaders, and then also very definitely the Partition. So someone is just simply trying to stir up chaos in Ankh-Morpork.
Yes.
Create some sort of power vacuum.
We also meet a young up-and-coming nobleman who is also a member of the Assassin's Guild. Yeah. And his name is Edward Death. Yep. Edward, he's got a little bit of a stutter, but he is an ambitious fellow who thinks that the city would be better off with a king. It seems like a very recurring theme in these books that there are people who want there to be a king, and there isn't a king. And this Edward Death fellow does a little bit of snooping because he knows the history of royal families really well and nobles and all that kind of stuff, and he sees a bunch of pictures, and he figures out something that is hinted at in the first book, that Carrot is the rightful heir to the Ankh-Morpork throne.
He's got various facial features from various other past kings.
Yep. And he even goes to the place where the carriage, that when he was a kid, was burned. Yep. And he finds evidence. All of this stuff is kind of happening in the background of all the other things, but they do come together.
Yeah, there's a bit where he's like running through his ideas. He was like, it was good and it was right that he should do this because like the city needs a king. And there's a bit where the book says, Edward DeEath could think in italics. Such people should be kept an eye on, perhaps from a very far away vantage.
Yeah. He is a fun character who is not in a ton of the book.
No,
but he's kind of a big part of the beginning of the plot.
Yes.
That's probably about as much spoiler-free territory as we can talk about. I'll mention this right now. This book is more character-focused than the last one is.
Yes.
This is not a detraction to the story, but this plot isn't as interesting or as, like, well-crafted. There aren't as many threads as the first one is. It's much more of, like, there's one thing kind of going on, and we're just sort of seeing how all of the characters react and how they grow, and you get lots of great moments where two of the characters kind of pair up and have like interesting, moments together, which, I mean, I don't know if I've said this before, but I think, this series would be a fantastic fodder for some kind of like serialized adaptation, because I love all the little moments where all the different characters kind of pair up and talk, and
yes.
The moments with Cuddy and Detritus are great. The moments with Carrot and Angua are great. The moments with Angua and Gaspode, who's a fun character we'll talk about in a minute, those are really good. Just and also just exploring all the guilds in this one. You get a lot of guild stuff in this one.
Yes, you do.
The Fool's Guild in particular is fucking fantastic.
It's so good.
Yeah.
If you out there have read this or are interested in this, I would also definitely recommend Pyramids, because that one, the main character goes to the Assassin's Guild for schooling, because it's kind of like a thing that you do if you're a well-bred young man of a certain age and social standing. You go to the assassin school for your formal schooling. You might not become an actual licensed assassin, but like that's the highest form of schooling you can get on the disc.
Yeah. I like that they kind of mention that the Assassin's Guild is sort of like, it's a guild of like upper crusty nobles, whereas, like a lot of the other guilds are more like low commoner type people.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun. It's a neat idea.
So that's probably as much as we can say spoiler free. I kind of agree. I think that the story is a little bit more one note than the previous one, but the characters are a lot more interesting and detailed, and there are more characters whose heads we get to ride around inside of.
Yeah.
And so you get a deeper understanding of the character themselves.
Yes.
And how they interact with other people. It's
a lot of fun, and it might sound like I'm criticizing this book. I, on the whole, maybe like this book better than the first one. I don't know. It's close. They're kind of different, but I will definitely say that this one is just more about the characters. If you love the characters and enjoy hearing from them, this is a great book for that. And it sets up future books, because all these characters, like, they go somewhere. They have an arc, and
yes.
It's fun. I'm looking forward to reading more of them, and I'm also looking forward to talking about the rest of this book. But we, spoilery.
Yeah.
All right.
So, go read it if you haven't, or listen to us and then read it later.
Yeah.
However you want to experience the media that you experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely go read it, please and thank you.
Yes, definitely. No matter what you do, please read.
It's such a sunny day, such a sunny day, such a sunny day, away,
Hello, dear listener. Halloween is coming up, and we have a whole month of our favorite spooks and scares that we want to share with you. So be sure to tune in all October for the My Thing, Your Thing Halloween Spooktacular. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
So. Where do we start?
So as we mentioned, something gets stolen from the Assassin's Guild.
Yes.
And we don't figure out what it is for quite a while. However, when Carrot eventually does get into the Assassin's Guild, he finds a pedestal with just the word gone, G-O-O.
Gone.
Yeah, G-O-N-N-E.
Yeah.
And it's just like a little placard that says that. And he was like, I wonder why they would have a note that just says that something is gone. And, also, so there's other things happening too. Vimes is supposed to retire at the end of the week and get married, and there are new recruits, and everyone's kind of trying to figure out how to best teach the new recruits what they're supposed to be doing, because also like they kind of haven't been doing their jobs for a while. So like what being a copper meant back when like Sergeant Colin first joined versus what it means now is different, and so he and Nobby Knobs and are very much like, what do we even do with these people?
I love one of the recurring things that Carrot says many times in the book. He says it like 4 or 5 times to people. Is he's like, do you know what the origin of the term policeman is?
Yeah.
As a man of the polis meaning city. And I very much like that recurring sort of motif that Carrot is really big about this idea of being a man of the city.
Yeah. There's a really great bit where he is like, they've got all the new recruits, and he's like, oh, Sergeant Colin, like, have you had them take the oath yet? And he was like, no, go ahead. And so Carrot like steps up and gives them the oath, but because he's a sort of simple person, he recites the entire thing.
Yeah.
And including like, him stroke her, like including like all of the brackets, insert personal deity
I
here.
insert your name here. Yeah. Swear to insert deity here. Yeah.
Without fear, stroke, favor, stroke, all that kind of stuff. They're also having a problem where because the dwarves and the trolls don't like each other and don't get along, Cuddy and Detritus don't get along, and so if they send them out on patrols together, it just devolves into the two of them yelling at and fighting with each other.
Yeah.
And also Cuddy is not allowed to have his axe with him.
Yeah, his like double-sided axe.
Yeah, and he's trying to be like, no, it's a cultural.
Yeah.
I need it. It's cultural.
He keeps hiding it.
Yeah.
Take it with him, because you're only supposed to have a sword if you're a guard.
Yep.
Although Detritus doesn't need a sword because he's a troll.
Yeah.
Don't salute.
Don't salute. Yeah, Detritus also keeps knocking himself out every time he salutes.
Yeah, because he just hits himself in the head so hard. But anyway, while all this is happening, Vimes is sort of away because he's, getting ready to get married, so he's kind of not involved with a lot of the stuff that's going on, and he's kind of trying to not be involved. He's trying to focus on the future that's laid out before him, but he is deeply uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, he is a man of the city, and he is having a hard time seeing himself in any sort of context where he has access to the sort of money that Lady Sybil Ramkim has, and he is just simply not sure what he's supposed to do with himself all day long.
Be a country gentleman? What does that mean?
He has also mostly given up alcohol, sort of at the behest of his wife.
He's smoking cigars now.
Smoking cigars now. Yeah, he says something about like Lady Sybil doesn't like it when I drink.
Yeah.
And so he's gonna be like a rich guy with nothing to do all day, and also he's not allowed to drink anymore.
Yeah. I don't think that was gonna last very long. No matter what.
Yeah. So the break-in happens at the Assassin's Guild, and there's a lot of very small things that all kind of don't seem to fit together, and Carrot, on like not really direct order, but like Carrot takes everything that Vime says very seriously. So when Vime says something like don't look for clues because you'll only confuse yourself, Carrot doesn't look for clues, but he does kind of assess everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So the assassins say, oh, someone set off fireworks and it caused an explosion, and he was like, well, it doesn't really look or smell like fireworks.
Yep.
It looks like something else, and he finds a little box and a little what's it?
Collar.
A collar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with a name on it.
The name is Chubby.
Chubby.
Which is the name of a swamp dragon that Sybil Ramkin has said disappeared yesterday.
Yeah. So yeah, Sybil had gone to Vimes and was like, someone stole one of my swamp dragons. Mm-hmm. Please find whoever's responsible. And he was like, yes, dear.
Yes.
And so it looks like someone caused a swamp dragon to explode, which then took out part of the wall so that they could get into the Assassin's Guild to take something.
But
the assassins aren't saying what got stolen. And then there are a couple of like mysterious deaths around the city. So the first person that they find is this dwarf artificer who's been killed in his workshop, and he's been killed in this very strange way.
He's got like a hole in him.
Yeah, but it's not like there's it's not a hole that matches any sort of like crossbow bolt or anything like that.
No. And there's this flattened piece of lead embedded into the wall behind him.
Yeah.
Which nobody knows what that is. That seems really odd and weird.
This is also kind of, I don't remember if he was in the last book, but this is like one of the first introductions in the City Watch series of the character of Death, the personification of Death.
Yeah.
And Death shows up a lot in Terry Pratchett books. He's one of those he's a character that it's just kind of like always there if someone is on the precipice of about to die, or he comes through after they have died. He is just a skeleton in a giant black cowl, and he's got a scythe. There's a series of books that he is a main character of.
Yeah.
Because he has got a granddaughter whose name is Susan. Don't ask about it. We'll talk about it later. But he shows up quite a bit in like the City Watch books, and like there's a really great bit in one of the later ones where like he and Samuel Vimes they're having this conversation where the Grim Reaper is like, yes, you've had several near-death experiences, which means that I get to have several near-Vimes experiences.
Aww.
And he's just a guy doing a job, and he looks spooky and scary, but at the end of the day, like his only job is to just like usher everyone and everything from life to whatever happens next.
And in this one, he is working on some humor. He is trying to come up with some jokes. Yeah. And they're not going very well.
No, because he's a very literal person. He's Death.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, the dwarf is first. Is the beggar girl next?
Yes, I believe so.
So next there is a young beggar girl who she's at the Beggars Guild. Yeah. There's a guild of beggars. She's at the Beggars Guild, and she is in the personal room of the Queen of the Beggars. Yeah, so Molly is the current Queen of the Beggars Guild, and she had like a personal chambermaid as far as like, beggars go. Yeah. Named Lettuce Nibs, and Lettuce was in, I guess it might be Lettice.
It's Lettuce.
Yeah, fair. Was in Molly's room trying on a dress of hers, and something broke the window and killed her, and they found some more mysterious lead slugs in the ground. And I believe Carrot was like sighting along like where she would have been standing and where the ground was, and like across to where someone could have been standing. And he was looking, like, there's no one can make this shot with a crossbow bolt. This person has to be using something different, something that we have not seen before. Yes.
It's also very funny. There are high-end members of the Beggars Guild, and so they're like, could I borrow 10,000 gold for a small mansion? Yes. Because if you're a high-up beggar, you've got to beg for a lot. You can't just beg for a couple of like gold coins. You've got to beg for much higher. It's a little hard to kind of remember every single step of this story, just because, as we kind of mentioned, it's much more about the interactions between the characters than it is about the plot.
Yes. Speaking of interactions between characters, there's another character that we forgot, which is Leonard the Quorm.
Well, okay, so he's barely in the book,
True.
But he is important.
Yes.
We find out that the gun that was stolen was an invention of his. Yeah. And he's also just, like, inventing lots of crazy stuff.
All the time. Yeah. I don't know if it's in this book or it's in another one, but Terry Pratchett has this thing where he talks about how inspiration is just constantly sleeting through the universe, and every so often one will hit the right person at the right time, and they'll have this amazing idea for an invention. However, Leonard de Quorum is apparently attuned to all of that all of the time, so he's just constantly thinking of new things, and perhaps he'll come up with an espresso machine, or perhaps he'll come up with like the helicopter, and like sometimes he makes horrible, terrible weapons. Yeah. And Leonard de Quorum is another one of those characters that's like kind of innocent in the idea of like he'll come up with like this terrible like the worst trebuchet you've ever seen that will like absolutely kill everybody in a city, and he'd be like, well, no, that'd be fine because it's a weapon that's so terrible that if you actually built it, it would end wars because no one would want to use it.
Hey, mutually assured destruction. Hey. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, but he kind of lives in the palace, and he lives in like a very secluded part of the palace. Yeah. And every time Veterinarian wants to go talk to him, he has to like do a bunch of stuff to like not activate tripwires or traps or whatever. But also you can't even trust, if you're spying on him, you can't trust that the Partition is like doing all of those things because of that. He might just throw in some random stuff to throw anybody off because that's just kind of the person that he is.
Yeah, that's a very fun scene because the conversation that Veterinary has with Leonard is right after he basically tells Vimes, he's like, hey Vimes, you're retiring at the end of the week. Like, I got the Assassin's Guild up my ass about like this investigation. Just leave it alone, okay? And basically Vimes at first kind of is like, no, fuck that, I'm gonna do it. But after a while, Vimes is like, okay, fine, you know what? Fine. I'm retiring, whatever, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And the Patrician has this conversation with Leonard DeQuirm where they're talking about all this stuff, and, you know, he mentions at the end, he's like, oh no. Vimes didn't pound the wall when he walked out like he normally does. I might have pushed him a little too hard.
I might have twisted that spring a little bit too much.
Yeah.
It might unwind in ways that I am not prepared for.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a very fun little moment. Veterinary's also not in this book as much as he is in the first one. But the parts that he is in, he's very fun.
Yes.
Also, another character interaction, you know, Cuddy and Detritus are working together. Forced to work together, essentially. At first, they really hate each other, but you kind of get the idea over time that they're sort of developing this friendship.
Yeah.
You know, that they sort of... one of the things that they keep talking about in the book is that when you're in the Watch, you're not a man or a woman or a troll or a dwarf. You're a watchman.
Yeah.
That's what you are. And so they're encouraged to sort of forget their prejudices.
Yeah.
And eventually, Cuddy and Detritus, like, they still kind of, like, go at each other. But they do seem to eventually kind of build up this, like, great relationship.
There's a bit that kind of seems like sort of a sibling sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, no, I'm allowed to pick on them all I want. But if you are mean to them, I'm going to flatten you. Which is something that happens a couple of times where somebody makes fun of Detritus and Cuddy is like, that is a watchman. What are you talking about? Get out of here.
Yeah. And then Carrot is having these fun moments with Angua.
Yes.
Angua is a very interesting character.
Yeah, I love her. I love her so much.
We find out pretty early on that she is a werewolf.
Yeah.
Early on, it's not quite clear what she is. We know she's something because she runs into Gaspode, who is a talking dog.
Yeah.
And Gaspode is like, I know what you are.
And she's like, shut up. No, you don't.
Yeah, shut up. And he's just like, nope, I can smell it. I know what you are. Gaspode can talk, but most people don't think of him as talking.
Yeah.
They sort of like, they hear him talk, but they sort of think it's their own internal monologue. Yeah. So whenever Gaspode says something to them, they just sort of think it in their head. Angua realizes that he's actually the one talking because she's a werewolf, and so she has like an intuitive dog thing.
Yeah, there's a bit in, I don't know if it's in this one or if I think it's in one of the later ones. It might be in Fifth Elephant, where she's talking about the fact that like werewolves aren't people and werewolves aren't wolves. They're somewhere in between, and that basically makes them a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, kind of, Gaspode makes that point in this one.
Yeah.
He sort of talks about how a dog is sort of a wolf that had people put into it.
Yes.
You know, and that being a werewolf is kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's somewhere in the same place. And Angua very early on takes a real shine to Carrot.
Yes, she does.
That she just like really appreciates how like straightforward and nice and kind he is. Because Carrot, like, he walks around the city and just remembers everybody's names. And he's just like, hey, Mr. Bauxite, which is a troll.
Yeah.
And you know, he just knows who everybody is. He talks to everybody, and throughout the book, everyone likes Carrot.
Everybody likes Carrot, and like it's kind of difficult to not like Carrot.
Yes, he's just so positive and nice, and just treats you so forthrightly that you can't help but be like, Carrot rules. He's great.
Yeah, so there's a bit where Terry Pratchett said, just because he thinks that everybody's really decent underneath and we get along just fine if only they made the effort, and he believes that so strongly it burns like a flame which is bigger than he is. He's got a dream and we're all part of it, so it shapes the world around him. And the weird thing is, no one wants to disappoint him. It'd be like kicking the biggest puppy in the universe. It's kind of magic.
He is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Angua, like, immediately is just like, this guy rules. And
I'm going to follow him.
Yeah, and Gaspode even jokes. She's just like, you love him. And she's like, no, I don't. And he's just like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do, though.
Anguilla starts to do some investigation with Gaspode.
Yes.
Because Gaspode saw things, because he's a dog, and he was paying attention. He saw the explosion. He saw the person run out from the Assassin's Guild.
Yeah.
And so Anguilla transforms into a wolf. They kind of describe how she does it. She can do it, kind of anytime she wants.
Yes, but she has to when it's a full moon.
Yeah, when it's a full moon, but only if, like, the full moon's light is on her. Like, if
Yeah.
she's inside, it doesn't matter. It's just like, but if the moonlight is exposed to her, she has to transform.
Yes.
That comes up later.
Yeah.
And so everyone's doing investigations kind of on their own.
And it's one of those things where, like, it's very good tension because you, as the reader, can see everybody finding all of the disparate clues.
Yeah.
And piece them together yourself. But, not everybody is in the same place and not everybody thinks the same things are important.
Yes.
So even though, like, you can see how it's all coming together, like, a character isn't thinking to mention, this guy told me this thing at this place because it doesn't seem important to them from their point of view.
Mm-hmm. We pretty early on can tell the thing that was stolen was a gun. And that it was stolen by Edward d'Eth.
Yes.
However, despite the fact that Edward d'Eth is, like, very important in the early part of the book and we see some scenes from his point of view, he kind of disappears.
Yeah.
Pretty early on in the book. And you assume that he's just going around shooting people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not exactly what's happening, though.
No.
At one point, we find out that one of the members of the Fool's Guild was killed as well.
Yes.
Bino the Clown.
Wait, was it Bino or was it Boffo?
Oh, God. I thought it was Bino. Boffo is the sad one that they talk to.
Right, yeah.
And so they find a dead Bino the Clown. And so they're like, oh, well, geez, we got to go talk to the Fool's Guild. We got to tell them that a clown is dead. And there's a whole bunch of this book that is devoted to how clowns aren't funny.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's actually quite good. And the head of the Fool's Guild is Dr. Whiteface.
Dr. Whiteface, who is terrifying.
He's scary.
The Fool's Guild is literally right next to the Assassin's Guild, and Dr. Whiteface is the scariest person on that block.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Boffo the Clown, who's sort of the, like, bouncer of the Fool's Guild. He's sort of working at the door. He's, like, depressed and sad and not funny at all.
Yeah.
But he's, like, in a meta way, hilarious, just because he's so sad.
And he gives them a very important piece of information, which is that he saw Bino after they know Bino would have been dead, but Bino's face was wrong.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, like, it kind of, they have to start thinking about it from someone else's point of view, which kind of goes back to the theme of, like, the racism sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where, Detritus and Cuddy start thinking about things from the other person's point of view. But to a clown, the makeup that they're wearing is their face.
Yeah.
They identify clowns by their face, and it would be impossible for a clown to wear some other clown's makeup. It would be like wearing somebody else's skin is how awful that would be. So Boffo saw Bino, but his face was wrong. And they find out that Deeth had killed Bino and then worn his face and, like, slipped out through the Fool's Guild in all of the kerfuffle after the explosion.
Yes. There's a fun scene where they go to the Hall of Faces. They see all the different clown faces that have ever been, and they're painted onto little eggs.
Which is kind of based on a real thing.
Yes,
like,
it is.
Yeah, actual clowns they'll like paint an egg and submit that as their clown makeup to be, like, registered, basically.
And I'm, I've been playing a lot of Balatro recently. One of the Jokers in the game is a reference to that. It's the
nice.
egg Joker. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, as this is all going on, like, the city is in an uproar because people are dying and there's no explanation for it.
Yep.
And there's a bit where they haul a troll in for the murder of this dwarven artificer.
Trolls and dwarves are, like, fighting in the streets, and it's causing like a panic. And
so they're like, well, we have to arrest somebody. So is it Coalface that they arrest? Yeah. So they pull Coalface in, and Coalface is like, I didn't do nothing. And they're like, well, obviously he did it. He's a troll. And they're like, that's not evidence.
That's not evidence. No, you can't do that.
Yeah, we have to find who actually did it. And Carrot points out that Trollface couldn't have done it because it was a dwarven artificer's shop, which is a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And he couldn't have even fit in the door to kill this guy.
Mm-hmm. And the head of the Day Watch, which is
Quark.
Quark.
Mayonnaise Quark.
Yeah, Mayonnaise Quark. God.
He is rich, thick, and oily, yes, and smells faintly of eggs.
Yep. He's like, well, it doesn't matter whether he did it or not, because he's a troll, and, that's good enough. Because he's done something bad.
Yeah, he's done something. And there's a bit where, the British has this idea of justice is in, well, somebody has to be brought to justice. And if the person who did the crime is the one who is brought to justice, then, that's a bonus. But as long as somebody is seen as being brought to justice, that's fine.
Yeah, because it's more important that people are seen to be being brought to justice, whether or not that's actually happening or not. So Carrot comes up with an idea because the Night's Watch has been disbanded by Vetinari. He's like, nope, no more Night's Watch. You're done. Vimes, you're retired. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And then Quirk is going to come by and take all your swords, and you're being sort of disarmed. And then Carrot comes up with the plan. He's just like, well, has the law and order of the city broken down? And a bunch of the Daywatch guys are like, oh, yeah, totally. And he's like, great. So I'm forming us as a militia, which I'm allowed to do, and we're going to go to the armory and just take some weapons.
Yep.
And then they start to add dwarves and trolls to the police force.
Yeah.
Because basically, they get a troll, and then the dwarves are like, well, hey, wait a minute. You got more trolls than dwarves. We need to have an extra dwarf so that it matches. And so they grow the size of their militia.
Yeah.
And they steal a bunch of weapons from the armory. And there's a great scene where Colin tells Carrot that, hey, we can't just we can ask them, but you can't just go in there and hurt anyone to take all those weapons.
Yeah.
And Carrot's like, totally understand. And then he walks up and he says, hey, could you please give me those weapons? Because if you don't, I'm going to have to follow the orders that Sergeant Colin gave me. And I'll be very, very upset about that. And he says it deadpan. And the guy at the door is like, that means you're going to kill me, right? And so he's like, okay, yeah, I'll let you in, sure. And we know as an audience, it was just like, no, Carrot was just going to leave him alone.
Yeah.
If he didn't
Carrot is simple, and simple is not the same as stupid.
Yeah, brilliant. Really, really well done.
Yeah.
And so they break Coalface out, and they sort of use the militia to kind of restore order a little bit.
Yeah. They basically had tell everybody to go home because at this point he's got 6 trolls and a bunch of dwarves on his side.
Yeah.
So what are you really going to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
And also kind of immediately several of the trolls and dwarves are like, well, I'm a cop now, so this is my new identity. It's the racial thing, whatever. I'm a cop now.
Yep. And it's fun because Detritus, he just immediately falls right in as a good trainer of the trolls.
Yeah.
He's really good at it. Cuddy's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Cuddy and Detritus are chasing the criminal.
Yeah, whoever has the gun.
And they go to a warehouse for future pork.
Yeah, so Detritus got shot several times, but he got shot protecting Cuddy.
Yes.
And so they were chasing him, and they kept chasing him, and he got shot in the Pork Futures warehouse.
Yes.
Which is hyper cold.
Yes. They describe it, so they talk about how in More Pork, there's an economy where people are speculating on pork futures, but because people don't understand what futures are, they demanded that there be a warehouse built to store that future pork. And because they did that, this building is ultra cursed with magic because it's
it's where the pork goes to wait until it becomes pork.
Yeah, wait till it becomes real. It's doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So it's super hyper cold. And so Detritus and Cuddy, they get trapped in this warehouse. And Detritus starts to become really smart for some reason.
Because it turns out that, since trolls are inorganic life forms, since they are made out of rocks, they have brains that are made out of silica.
Yeah.
And so when, in the heat of the plains, their brain doesn't work very fast, but when it starts to cool down, their brains work faster.
Yes.
And Detritus specifically is extremely smart, except the temperature at which his brain works best is also very close to the temperature at which trolls actually die.
Yes, and he talks about it at a certain point. It's superconductivity. It's so cold that he's basically like a supercomputer.
Yeah,
like that's how his brain is working because it's made of silicon. It's really cool. It's a very good idea.
So like as his brain is starting to get up to speed in this new cold environment, he notices like a window like way high up.
Yeah,
and he's not on the verge of dying because he's a troll, but Cuddy is a dwarf, and dwarves are not supposed to be in this cold weather.
Yeah.
So Cuddy is like shivering and his teeth is chattering, and he's like, we have to get out of here or I'm going to die. And so Detritus looks at Cuddy and looks at this window and like does some mental math and then throws the dwarf out the window.
Yeah.
And it's great. And so Cuddy has to like run off and find whoever is like the head of the Butcher's Guild. He literally breaks into the Butcher's Guild and is like standing on this guy's chest and threatening him with his axe, like, give it to me. Why won't you give it to me? And he's like, I will. What do you want? And Cuddy's like, oh, I didn't tell you. No, give me the key to the Pork Futures warehouse. Okay.
Yeah, here you go.
So
it's beautiful moment.
One of my favorite bits is like while Detritus is stuck in there, he's just like following the math. Like before this, he and Cuddy had been having a conversation about counting because he can only count to 4 and then it's many.
Yes.
And so Cuddy was teaching him like how to add. And so like numbers are on Detritus's brain and he's in this place and his brain is working really fast, and so like he starts adding and then he like does more. He like invents multiplication and division and then like algebra and calculus, and he just like keeps going and going and going, and he's like drawing all these equations on like the wall in the Pork Futures warehouse, and then right as people like open the door, he's got like an equals sign and they pull him out and they're like, equals what, and he's like, I have no idea.
Yeah. And after the scene, because dwarves are pretty good at like building, you know, like working with metal and building little gadgets and things, Cuddy actually invents a helmet for Detritus that keeps his head cool.
Yeah.
So his brain works better.
Yep.
And it's really cute.
It's really sweet.
It's a really sweet moment. But at this point in the story, Vimes is depressed.
Yeah.
Because like the Night's Watch was disbanded and disarmed, and he is like retired, quote unquote, you know, basically about to be set off to the farm or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, put out to pasture. That was the word that I was looking for. God.
Carrot gets him a gold watch.
Yeah.
That's like inscribed. It says, a gift from your old friends in the watch.
Yeah, very cute.
Is it a watch from your friends in the watch? Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm. But Vimes is having like a fancy dinner with his fiance and all these other rich people. And all these rich people are basically talking shit about dwarves and trolls. And Vimes is mad because he's like, I don't like dwarves and trolls either, but like,
I know them.
They're my friends. I deal with them every day. You guys are rich assholes who don't talk to them ever. You're just making shit up.
Yeah, there's a bit where someone makes a comment about how lazy dwarves are, and then a little bit later makes a comment about how they're always working away in businesses for each other. And he's like, well, he's like thinking to himself, he put these two thoughts next to each other and tried to figure out how they went together and realized they didn't.
Nope.
And this guy was probably just an idiot and asshole.
Yep. And at this party, Vimes is off the wagon. He is drinking heavily, and you can just kind of tell he's not having a good time.
Yeah. Lady Sybil is like vigorously motioning to the butler to like not give him any more wine and like fill him with fruit juice or water or whatever. Mm-hmm. So Vimes has left the party and he got alcohol from Cut Me On Throat Dibbler.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. This is great. 1 second. Oh no, said Sergeant Colin. He had a whole bottle. Engwa picked up the bottle and looked at the label. CMOT Dibbler's genuine, authentic, soggy Mountain Dew. She read, he's going to die. It says 150% proof. Nah, that's just old Dibbler's advertising, said Navi. It ain't got no proof, just circumstantial evidence.
Great
so
line.
He's drunk a bunch of presumably bathtub gin, and he is extremely drunk now.
Yes.
And so he's back in his like old apartment above the watch house. It's just Engwa and Carrot in the room because Carrot has sent them for like Klatchian coffee, like not just regular coffee, Klatchian coffee. Mm-hmm. Sober Vimes is actually so sober that usually he needs like a couple of glasses to like reach regular like even keel for most other people. Yeah. But you know he can't have a few glasses because then he'll just keep having more. So they figure that he doesn't need regular coffee; he needs the strong shit. So it's just Carrot and Engwa, and Engwa's kind of like snooping through his, Vimes' stuff and finds a book, and it says stuff like it's got names and like dollar amounts next to it, and she's like, well, no wonder he like doesn't have any money. He's seeing like 12 or 13 different girls a week. Like this is the guy that you look up to? And Carrot goes very quiet. And so when Navi comes back with the coffee, he's like, he asks him, hey, do you remember who like this person was? And he's like, oh yeah, like the old widow of the last captain. Yeah, she lives down over on like Short Street or whatever, right? And so Sam Vimes has been taking his own salary and splitting it up between former wives and children of cops who have died on the job.
Yeah, of the previous watchmen, because, you know, nobody goes to watch funerals except for other watchmen and maybe family members. And, like, you don't get a pension.
Yeah.
You know, like the previous, I think it was the previous captain, he retired, but then he just, like, kept coming back every day just to kind of hang out. And it turned out later on that he didn't live anywhere. Like, he was living at the watch. Like, he had no family, no home or anything like that. And it's just really great little moment that, like, you know, Vimes, who is just a cynical, like, depressed little prick, like, constantly all the time angry and like, it just turns out that he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah.
You know, and it's part of the reason why he's such a great character.
Yeah.
Is that when you live in Vimes' head many times in these books. You hear his thoughts and you hear how he talks and the things that he thinks, and you're like, man, like, he's got the right attitude about certain things, but God, what a prick he is. And then you find out he's giving like half his money away every month to like orphans and dead, like, you know, and you just think like, wow, holy shit. And he never ever mentions it. He never says to anybody, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. He's just sees it as his responsibility.
It's a job and somebody has to do it, and if no one else is going to do it, then it's going to be him.
Yeah. God, you know, ACAB except for Sam Vimes and
which
Karen.
also Sam would be like, no, I'm a bastard. I am a bastard.
No,
all cops are bastards.
Yeah, he would be the first one to agree.
Yes.
Which is
this is so good.
Yeah, it's just so good.
While we're talking really quickly about Sam Vimes and money, I want to read this little bit.
Yeah.
The reason that the rich were so rich, Vimes reasoned, was that because they managed to spend less money. Take boots, for example. He earned $38 a month plus allowances. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50, but an affordable pair of boots, which was sort of okay for a season or two and then leaked like hell when the cardboard gave out, cost about $10. Those were the kind of boots Vimes always bought and wore until the soles were so thin that he could tell where he was in Ankh-Morpork but on a foggy night just by the feel of the cobbles. But the thing was that good boots lasted for years and years, and a man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years' time, while a poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots in the same time and would still have wet feet.
Yeah.
This was the Captain Samuel Vimes' boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness.
Yes. That breached containment years ago.
Absolutely.
Long before I ever read anything from Terry Pratchett, I knew that whole paragraph, and I didn't realize that was Sam Vimes. It's brilliant. It's in this book pretty early on, and it's fantastic.
So there's also a bit in later books where like Sam Vimes now has a bunch of money, but he's so unused to it that like Sybil keeps buying him very nice boots and he keeps trading them with like other people on the watch because he'd rather have like he knows where he is by the cobblestones and he doesn't like the fact that he can't feel the cobblestones through his nice boots.
Yeah, he's just so uncomfortable with being rich.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So these events and murders and stuff keep happening, and someone eventually tries to kill the Partition.
Yes.
And he actually takes a slug through the shoulder, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a bit where the Partition is like, I appear to be bleeding, and Vimes is like, who knew you had it in you?
Yeah, someone is firing the gun from a rooftop.
Yeah.
And tries to kill the Patrician. It doesn't work. He survives. The Night's Watch is up on the rooftops kind of keeping an eye out for this. And unfortunately, Cuddy gets pushed off of a building and dies.
Yeah.
And it's very sad. Detritus
takes it badly.
Takes it very badly.
Takes it very badly.
He does not handle it very well, and understandably so.
Cuddy was climbing the Tower of Art, wasn't he?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's the tallest building.
The tallest building in the city, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He gets pushed off. So they found the body of Beano the Clown in the old city underneath
the city.
Ankh-Morpork, like in the sewers, which they didn't even know were down there.
Yes. Because Ankh-Morpork is mostly built on top of Ankh-Morpork.
Yes.
It is built in essentially like a floodplain.
Yeah.
And so as, waters come and rise and then recede, what was once the second story of the building becomes the first, and you just keep building on top of it. Yep. So there are lots of places in Ankh-Morpork where you can go well below the city level, and there's just a bunch of buildings down there.
Yep.
So, is it Vimes and Carrot?
Yeah, Vimes and Carrot. Then they then chase the assassin.
Yeah, through the Underdark of the city.
Yeah, through the lower part of the city, and they catch up to him, and they find out that it's Crucis, the head of the Assassin's Guild.
Yes, so Dr. Whiteface is the head of the Fool's Guild. Dr. Crucis is the head of the Assassin's Guild, and he was the one who initially was talking to them in the beginning and was like, "No, nothing was stolen."
Yeah, exactly. They've run into him a couple times so far.
While this is all going on, Angua has also been going on a side quest with Gaspode.
Yeah.
Gaspode, like they're going around kind of like trying to find clues essentially, and Gaspode keeps dropping hints about the Guild of Dogs and how he doesn't want to have to deal with them, but he can if he has to because he has the voice.
Yeah.
And so they do eventually run into the Guild of Dogs, and it's run by a dog named Fluffy, which is like a teacup poodle who has aspirations of wolfdom.
Yeah.
They don't like Gaspode because he's not part of the Guild of Dogs, and they're also not too keen on Angua initially because she's like a newcomer and is clearly like well taken care of and well fed, and the Guild of Dogs don't like pet dogs because they have very strong opinions about dogs being free and actually being ancestral wolves and all this kind of.
Yeah.
It is very much a little bit like well before any of this was going on. It is a little bit like a toxic masculinity kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Fluffy talks about the like dynamics of wolf packs and how they work in the wild, and Angua, who has been around wolves in the wild, is like, wolves aren't actually like that.
Yeah,
it's like the whole alpha male toxic bullshit that people talk about all the time, which is fake.
So the Guild of Dogs turn on them and start chasing them around, and they get cornered at one point, and like Angua makes a jump and she gets away, and Gaspode uses the voice. Because he can speak human, he yells at them, "Sit," in human.
And it doesn't work on all of them, but some of the dogs are like, oh. Yeah.
Yeah. So then Angua also is, she's down there too, isn't she?
Yeah, we kind of skipped one important thing.
Oh, go ahead.
We skipped the fact that at some point, Carrot and Angua
develop a bit of a relationship.
They have a bit of a relationship, and in fact, they have sex.
Yeah.
And you can tell that Carrot's kind of sweet on her the whole book.
Yeah.
Because he's taken women around the city to look at all the architecture and look at museums and things before, but they kind of get bored of it because they're, Carrot's just such a fucking nerd, but he's great.
Yeah.
But Angua doesn't get bored of it. She loves it. She thinks that this is fascinating and interesting and just like really enjoys Carrot's company. And, Carrot kind of makes a faux pas. He kind of says like, undead, they're not people like us. And in this series, I guess werewolves are considered like undead kind of,
yeah.
And so she's a little upset about that, but she also was like, I can't really blame him for how he feels,
Yeah. He doesn't know.
He doesn't know. And so they sleep together, and then in the middle of the night, Carrot opens the window, and the light of the full moon shines in, and Angua transforms, and Carrot does not handle it well.
No, he grabs his sword and runs out naked after her.
Yeah. And he doesn't even really mean to, like, hurt her. He just instinctually grabs the sword.
Yeah.
And Colin is just like, hey, bud, you might want to put some pants on there.
Oh, yeah. There's a bit where he's asking Colin, did you know? And he's like, what? He's like, did you know about Angua? And he's like, I mean, Vimes might have told me, maybe not in so many words. And he was like, what were the words? And Colin's like, he said she's a damn werewolf, but I don't have any choice in it. So just Colin being like, well, he might have said it, but not in so many words. She's a damn werewolf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's in those words exactly.
In those words exactly.
So she is dealing with the Dogs Guild, and then they push Fluffy off of...
No, Fluffy jumps because, he's like, I'm going to connect with my inner wolf. All you have to do is believe in yourself. And then he, like, tries to jump, like, make this same jump that Angua did. But Angua's, like, basically a little bit bigger than a German Shepherd, and he's a teacup poodle.
Yeah, exactly. So she gets across no problem, and he falls to his death.
Yeah.
Although the other dogs in the Dog Guild think that he has, like, ascended and gone to live with wolves in the wild or whatever.
What's the cat's thing? He made it to the topside layer or whatever?
Yeah, the heavy side
Happy side layer.
Anyway, Angua realizes that Carrot is in trouble because they have a connection now. And so she runs down into the sewers where Vimes and Carrot are confronting Crucis, and he's got the gun. But Crucis is being weird. He's gonna shoot the gun and kill them, but he sounds like he's like talking to someone. He sounds like he's like having an internal debate externally, and so Vimes and Carrot are kind of like, what the hell's going on?
So yeah, the initial confrontation is just like Vimes and Crucis, and like Vimes is trying to get him to keep talking so that he runs out of shots.
Yeah, and
so then he can like move in, and Carrot's not there initially, and as Crucis is talking, Vimes is like, he doesn't seem like he's in like full control of himself.
No.
And he looks very shaky. However, the gun is very steady.
Yes,
and that is a thing that you need to be worried about.
So yeah, Carrot gets there. Crucis takes a shot at Carrot that could kill him, but Angua jumps in front and saves Carrot. Her body falls to the floor, and then Vimes is like, damn it, and so he gives chase through the sewers under the city. Eventually, they go up through the basement of the Assassin's Guild and into Crucis's office, and they have a conversation. Up there, Vimes realizes, he's like, oh, Edward Death didn't mean to kill those people, like the beggar girl and he and the dwarf. He just accidentally did that, and then he came to you, the head of the Assassin's Guild, to try and help him.
Yeah.
After he stole the gun, and then Crucis took the gun and shot him.
And so then Crucis basically takes his idea of like, I'm going to kill a bunch of people, create a power vacuum, and then tell Carrot that he's the true king of Ankh-Morpork and he'll step in.
Yeah.
Because what the city actually needs is a king, not all of this stuff that functionally kind of works.
Yeah. And this is when Carrot, he may have had an inkling before this, but this is when Carrot learns for sure that he is the heir to the throne. He reads all the evidence that Edward Death put together, and Carrot's like, very interesting, but doesn't react in any way, which is kind of interesting. Vimes is able to get the gun out of Crucis's hands, and then in his mind, he's fighting against the gun.
As the gun is saying, you can fix it all, you can clean up the city, you just have to kill him.
You just have to kill him, and you got to kill a few other people too, and then you can clean up the city, you can fix everything, don't worry about it. And Vimes has a moment where he's like, about to do it, but eventually he is able to drop the gun and give it up.
So then Crucis dives for it.
Yes.
And he starts giving this speech about what his idea is, and Carrot kills him.
Yeah.
He puts a knife through Crucis' body and through the marble pillar behind him.
Yes. He puts the sword.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, throughout the whole book, people keep talking about how a king can pull a sword from a stone.
Yeah.
And he puts the sword through the marble column and then pulls it out.
Yep. There's I was looking for it. I think it's in this one, but I can't quite find it. But there's a bit where like someone says something about like you want to be standing in front of a bad man who's trying to kill you, because a bad man will monologue at you, but a good man will just straight kill you.
Yep.
And that's the difference, is that Carrot does not care what this man has to say.
Yeah.
Crucis is a problem. He has killed a lot of people, and Carrot is going to deliver justice.
Yeah. Carrot doesn't want to kill him, but he's going to because he has to.
Yeah. They basically gather all of the evidence and they take it all out. Vimes has a thing where monsters have to be brought out into the light so that people know that the monster is gone. And they tell the partition and they give him the gun back. Do they? Wait, do they? No. Yeah.
So the gun goes missing at this point.
Yeah.
There's a funeral for Cuddy.
Yes.
And they bury Cuddy, and Vimes notices that the coffin is heavier than it should be for a dwarf. And one of the things about dwarven burials is that you always bury them with a weapon because they're going to need to fight demons in the afterlife. There's actually a very funny quote where someone was like, wait, I didn't think dwarves believed in demons. And they're like, yeah, but they keep a weapon just in case the demons don't know that.
Yeah.
Which is very funny.
There's kind of a reoccurring thing where like dwarves are basically atheist, but like there are dwarven gods because you kind of need it in the same way that like, every time you drive, you don't need your seatbelt, but you have it anyway because what if you do need it?
Yeah, because there might be the one time where you do.
Yeah.
And, you know, and also if you like hammer your thumb, you can't just yell, "Oh, random chance." You have to curse a god.
Yeah.
So, you know, Carrot kind of gives a knowing look. Like, he doesn't lie to Vimes, but like it's very clear that Vimes is like, you put the gun in there, didn't you? And he goes like, and then Vimes goes and gets married, and Carrot goes back to the guardhouse with the body of Angua as a wolf, and
he's there to watch the guardhouse while everybody else is at the wedding, and he very sincerely and solemnly pours out a little glass of alcohol for himself and toasts to Mr. Vimes when he gets married and drinks it.
Yeah.
And he doesn't, it's one of those things that like I couldn't do that because I would be so embarrassed, but he like says a toast out loud and it's like to Mr. Vimes and like drinks it. Like it's so sincere.
Yep. And he like very lovingly like washes the body of Angua and like cleans her up, and it's really sad.
Yeah.
And then after a little while, after Carrot kind of sits there for a bit, I think they said it was like several hours, Angua walks through the door. And Carrot kind of turns around and he's just like, "Oh God, thank you. I wasn't sure, but I thought maybe because I'd always heard silver bullets."
It wasn't silver. It was definitely lead bullets.
Yeah. So Angua survives. And Carrot then goes to meet with Vetinari because now that Vimes is married and retired, they need a new captain for the guard. Colin's not going to take it. Knobs is not going to take it. Everybody else just joined. So Carrot is promoted to be captain of the guard.
Mm-hmm.
Vetinari is kind of expecting
personal stuff because Carrot's in a position to blackmail him because he has been explicitly told you are the rightful king of Ankh-Morpork. So Vetinari is a little bit like he's kind of thinking to himself like, you know, he's gonna try and get something out of me for himself, but Carrot doesn't do that.
No, Carrot, of course he wouldn't do that.
No,
Carrot just like, he's like, "Hey, we need a new tea kettle, got more people now, another dartboard would be nice.
Might be nice, yeah.
You know,
a fund for widows and children of dead coppers."
Yep. And then he's like, "Oh, and one last thing. Could we just like reform the whole guild, get it up to 56 men and have stations at the gatehouse and here and here and here?"
Yeah.
You know, and he's just like, "Yeah, okay, all that stuff sounds reasonable."
Yeah. And he's like, "Well, okay, but here's the thing, though. If you've got so many more people, you're going to need someone new in charge of the City Watch."
Yeah, the whole City Watch. You'll need a commander of the City Watch, which we haven't had in a long time.
Yeah.
And Carrot's like, "I have an idea of who might be a good commander." And he's like, "I have taken the liberty of writing a letter," and he hands it to Vetinari, and all Vetinari needs to do is sign it. And then there's one last great little moment of subtext where Vetinari asks Carrot, which is this whole scene is amazing because it is essentially like the same scene from the end of the first book with Vimes and the patrician.
Yeah.
This time it's Carrot and the patrician.
Yep.
And the Vetinari looks at Carrot and he's just like, you know, "What do you think about kings?" And Carrot says, "I don't think the fact that people will obey you is a good enough reason to order people around."
Yeah.
And I just don't think a king is a really good idea, but maybe, like a guard, having a king on hand in case you need him is something that's good.
Yeah.
And Vetinari's like, "Okay, great." And, you know, it's just like this really great moment where you realize, you know, because up to this point, you're not really sure if, like, Carrot, like, fully understands that he's the heir. And this scene is like, no, Carrot knows, he just doesn't
He doesn't want that.
He wants to be a watchman.
Yeah.
He wants to just help people out. He's not interested in being in charge, but also he's like, if you need me, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
God, I love Carrot so much.
Always happy to serve my city.
I fucking love Carrot love Carrot so much.
He's so good. There's also a really great so in promoting Samuel Vimes to Commander of the Watch, they also knight him.
Yes.
So he is now Sir Samuel Vimes.
And it's so funny. I love that because, you know, Lady Remkin, by the way, she does not change her name to Vimes.
No, of course not.
She shouldn't.
He wouldn't ask her to. Are you kidding?
Yeah. If anything, he's going to take her name. Yeah. But you can kind of tell that Lady Ramkin is, you know, she likes Sam Vimes for who he is, but also kind of thinks that being a guard is kind of a low thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, but when it's like, you're going to be the commander, which means you're going to be a knight, she's kind of like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, a knight, that means you're of high status, but you get to basically go back to doing what you were doing before.
Yeah. It is also, I want to be very explicitly clear, it's not that she thinks that her being married to like a copper or a retired copper is beneath her. She thinks that Vimes is so good he should be more than a copper.
Yes, exactly.
So the fact that he is now the commander of the City Watch and also a knight, she sees that as him finally being recognized for the good person that he is.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a best of both worlds thing. It's like you can now be a gentleman and also still be a
copper,
guard,
yeah.
as opposed to before where you kind of had to choose between the two.
Yeah.
And the book basically ends with him being like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, I don't know about this. And Carrot's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, no. Like, I don't think we can do this. We would definitely have to have the guardhouse here and here and here.
Yeah.
And he starts talking about all the logistics, you know? And so it's like, he's not saying no to the job. He's just saying, no, we need to do different things.
Yeah, you've had this organized all wrong. Hold on.
Yeah.
Someone get me a pen real quick.
One of the things I love about this story about the Vimes character is that Vimes is competent.
Yeah.
You know, like every single time Vimes, you know, he just thinks of himself as just this guy. He doesn't think of himself as being very good or special at anything, but he's a hell of a detective.
Yeah.
He like knows people really well. He knows what's up. He's really good at his job. And I think it's part of the reason why Carrot sort of like, you know, Carrot's great at his job too, but he's not Vimes.
Yeah.
He couldn't be the commander the way that Vimes could.
Yeah, because there's sort of a reoccurring theme with a lot of Terry Pratchett's writing. It gets the most explicit in Good Omens, where, you know, the angels and the devils have the angel and the devil character have decided that they're both going to try and influence the Antichrist as much as possible to see like which side he chooses in like the eternal war.
Yeah.
But there's been a mix up. It's a different baby, and so instead of being raised by either of them, he's raised by people.
Yeah.
So he's not either inherently good or inherently bad. He's inherently human.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that comes up a lot in Terry Pratchett's writing. There's a quote, oh gosh, I'm gonna misquote it and I'll have to look it up later. But the point of being human is to be the bit in the middle, the place where the falling angel meets the rising ape.
Yeah.
And so Vetinari thinks that humanity is inherently bad and greedy and selfish, and Carrot thinks that humanity is inherently good and will get along if everybody just tries. And Sam's like, no, they're all just kind of a little bit of a bastard.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody just wants to survive, but everybody's a little bit of a bastard.
Yeah, when Vimes says, like, I don't like trolls or dwarves, but then gets upset and offended by people talking shit about trolls and dwarves, it's because he sees them as people.
Yeah.
He doesn't see them as, like, this other. He sees them as exactly the same as he is. He just doesn't like trolls because they annoy him because he has to deal with them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
He's not racist, he's misanthropic.
Yes.
He's just kind of, like, annoyed with having to deal with it.
Yeah.
This book rules. I
great.
love this book. You know, it's a little all over the place. I mean, we've been talking for an hour and 24 minutes.
Gracious.
Like, yeah, it's tough. But good God, I loved this book. I listened to the audiobook again. I didn't like this audiobook as much as the first one. It was a different actor. They didn't do the footnotes the same way as the last one,
Yeah.
where it was like separate. It was more like he was just reading them as they came up, which wasn't as interesting to me. And the way that he read the characters was a little bit different than the previous one in a way that I didn't enjoy quite as much. I don't think the guy did a bad job. It was Nigel Lander, who was good stuff.
Yeah.
But I preferred the first audiobook. But I had a really good time listening to like the last 4 hours of it on a really long drive through the Appalachian Mountains a couple days ago. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm glad you liked it.
I did, and I'm really looking forward to more.
So the next one out of this is Feet of Clay, which I don't know if Feet of Clay is going to be your favorite. I'm thinking it's either going to be Feet of Clay or Night Watch.
Yeah, you keep talking about Night Watch being the one that I would like the most.
For reasons that I don't want to explain.
Yeah,
but we'll get
that's
there.
Fair.
But yeah, this one is really good. It's a good book. You should pick it up and read it. You should read other Terry Pratchett books. Again, same thing as last time. There's no real solid entry point for Discworld. If you see a book and it has the name Terry Pratchett on it, pick it up and read it. You'll have a great time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we've got to talk about this time. When we do the James Bond series, we're ranking and we're talking about it. I don't know if I necessarily want to do that for this.
Sure.
I just would like to say that, I am really glad to be reading more fantasy that is out there and is interesting.
Yeah.
I love the genre of fantasy, but I'll be honest, I haven't read a ton of it that I love.
Sure.
Like, obviously, Tolkien, Lord of the Rings series, fantastic.
Yeah.
Song of Ice and Fire, I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the Black Company series, which I think might be a future episode.
Sure, I'd be down.
Maybe when we finish the Terry Pratchett books, we'll do Black Company. I don't think Black Company is quite as good as the rest of it, but it's not really trying to be. It's not high fantasy. It's a little more gritty and, but it's got a lot of cool stuff that I want to talk about. But, like, surprisingly, a lot of fantasy I'm not that interested in, I talked before that I don't love super high magic settings. To me, when you enter into tons and tons of like magic and tons of fantasy monsters and races, you sort of lose like a realism,
It becomes too complicated and you end up with too many rules. And there's always there's a chance for like contradictions and plot holes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But also like you, the reader, have to spend extra time trying to remember like all of the stuff because characters might react in a way because of like some fantasy race thing that you don't remember because it was mentioned 2 books ago.
Yep. I was just going to say that Terry Pratchett, specifically with these Night Watch books, has not had that problem at all. Discworld is like very explicitly high fantasy. There's like you're on the back of elephants with a giant
on a turtle
and there's L space and there's the high energy magic building and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just about normal people living in a big city.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that about this so much, that it's able to put these approachable, realistic characters that you really feel like Vimes could just exist in real life.
Yeah.
And kind of set it in this magical world, and they don't feel like horribly out of place.
Yep.
It's great. It's fantastic. Both of these books are like solid contenders for like top 10 fantasy novels I've ever read in my life.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we're talking like the Lord of the Rings books and Song of Ice and Fire and like maybe 1 or 2 other things. We're really already quite up there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else?
I think that's about it.
Cool. I feel bad because I think I talked more in this, even though this was your thing.
No, I'm happy to listen to you talk about it.
Yeah.
So,
I've been Donovan.
I've been Hannah.
And this was Men at Arms by Terry Pratchett. I look forward to the next one.
Yep.
Thank you again, Hannah, for showing these to me.
Of course.
I'm really glad that somebody finally just gave me a starting point.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time, listener.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find us at mythingyourthing.com or at mythingyourthingpod on social media. Thanks to RK Maroon for letting us use their song Macaroni Art from the EP You Can't Eat Horses. You can get it at rkmaroon.bandcamp.com. If you have a thing you think we should talk about, email us at mythingyourthingpod@gmail.com and maybe that could be our thing.